Let me ask you, in the UK, I mean, the British Conservative government has obviously, totally abysmally failed on its promise to control immigration after 13 years in power, and with the marvelous wonder tool of Brexit to do the trick. And despite all this, like politicians in every country these days, they keep gaslighting us about how great everything is and how well we're doing. But I really don't think people believe it at all anymore. What would you have done, Nigel, regarding Brexit and immigration if you'd had a seat at the table? And notwithstanding, what would you do right now?
Well, look, I mean, the thing is that we got the Brexit result. There was a mechanism we had to trigger to give instructions to the EU we were leaving. It was called Article 50. We should have triggered Article 50 the next morning. No, we waited for 2 years. Waited for 2 years to give notice to leave, which of course allowed all the globalist forces against us to build their strength. That then put the governing Conservative Party, who of course had been against Brexit, but it put them in a very weak position. What Brexit was, it was an instruction from the voters to government to turn the ship of state around by 180 degrees, to go in a completely different direction. And if you're making a fundamental change in life, whether it's a change of relationship, a change of house, whatever it may be, unless you believe in what you're doing, it's going to be a failure. You actually have to have conviction. And the problem is the Conservatives never believed in it. They didn't view it as an opportunity. They viewed it as a damage limitation exercise. We now have total control of our borders, and yet net migration is through the roof. Our population has increased. I mean, remember how small we are. Our population has increased from 60 to 68 million in the last 20 years, and 85% of that growth is through immigration. I mean, you can't drive on our roads anymore. You can't get a doctor's appointment, and your kids can't get houses. I mean, that's where we are. We are going through, our little island is going through a dramatic population crisis, and it doesn't really matter anymore whether it's Labour in power or Tories in power. They're addicted to cheap foreign labour because that's what the giant multinational businesses want. So, look, on the immigration front, that would have been easy. On the business regulation point, the EU is an over-regulated, socialised model. Again, you could have scrapped thousands of laws. There was, in fact, a piece of legislation proposing the scrapping of 4,000 EU laws, and Rishi Sunak's government has just ditched it. So, basically, you have to have leaders. We're really back to where we started, aren't we? You have to have leaders who actually believe in what they're doing. So if I was there, things would change radically. But I'm in a funny position because if I was in a European country, I'd have been deputy prime minister, at least deputy prime minister, because the electoral system of proportionality would have put me there. If we were in America, if I was in America, where we had a presidential system, I could have run. I might not have won, but I certainly would have shaped the agenda. But I'm politically caught in sort of the worst of all worlds, where I've won 2 national elections to the European Parliament under proportionality. But to break the first past the post stranglehold of Labour and Conservative, well, all I can do really is what Ross Perot did. So I'm in a very difficult position. I might be the father of Brexit. I might have forced the establishment into it, but they don't let me control any of the levers. So as you can imagine, I'm pretty frustrated by it all.